All right, welcome, ladies, wherever you're joining us from. I normally don't do this, but I actually think it would be fun because this is more of an interactive session. I would love if you would just share in the comments where you're from. So that way everyone can be like, oh, where do you live? I think some of you might find that a lot of you are kind of in the Washington or Northwest area, but some of you are from different locations. So that would be fun for you to share. This vision I had a long time ago, I feel like is coming into fruition. And the vision that I had was that I was at a table. It was a feast, this feast of a table. And those of you who are brand new, I normally don't start this way. I'm just getting into it because I feel it right now. But it was this feast of a table, and it was rectangular and just so long. And I remember sitting there, but knowing that the table was surrounded by women. And then I look to my right and I see Jesus as a waiter or a server. And he's got this plate where, again, I'm at a feast. Like there's huge turkey on the table, there's everything. But he has this plate that he serves me. And as he serves it to me, it's a plate of fire. And then instantly, as I look, like I'm getting chills again thinking about this, instantly, as I look around the table, I see Jesus as every woman's waiter serving a plate of fire. And then I have the vision changes like that into being the United States of America. And all of a sudden, I see fire emerging all over the United States of America. And the fire is the fire of God that's upon women who are embarking in change. And I don't think it's just women, but the table was women. So God's showing me something, right? And I have felt as there's just this shift in women's hearts, and some women on this Zoom I've even gotten to know from the Midwest, and seeing the heart of God from the Midwest. Like, man, God is on the move, and it is so exciting. And it's really coming from just us being love and using our voices, not being loud and proud and angry, but just literally using our voices and our testimony, because God is using that to change the hearts of people. No matter how little you think your testimony is, it's actually so profound that it is a plate of fire. And I guess I forgot to share one key thing. When I saw the plates of fire served, and then I saw the vision of the United States of America, this is what happened. It was a snap. In one snap, the fires erupted. And so why that's important is because I feel that God has been saying, I've been preparing, and that's us being at the table in communication. We're hanging out. I've been preparing. So they're stirring. And the moment that it's time to go, I snap my fingers and the plates erupt with fire, like the fire erupts all over the United States of America. So anyways, that was really cool. And why I just felt like we should all just drop where we are all around the country because it's so fun. And sometimes I even have some special friends on here from other countries. So that's even more fun, especially because they're usually hopping on here at a time that's crazily absurd because time change is rough. So getting into it, if you're brand new watching the recording or on tonight, I'm Bethany Johnson, and I'm excited to really help us have a recalibration night. I have shared this on many of my Zooms, but every person is welcome here. You don't even have to know much about God. Maybe you don't even know him at all. Maybe you have denounced him or you don't even believe in this. I've always shared what I'm excited about is that number one, you're showing up. Number two, as you're here, you actually just get to listen with an open heart. I say, just like take the meat, spit out the bones. I don't believe there's any bones to spit out with God, but I say that because I know that God is honoring where somebody shows up to be open. He will absolutely, work with you in steps. And so I'm glad that anyone is here and anyone's invited. But with that said, what we're going to do tonight is we're really going to help ourselves, or today, whenever you're watching it, we're going to help ourselves recalibrate so we have peace in every area of our life. Oftentimes, we just keep going until we feel completely deflated. Or maybe it's a different experience for you. You feel absolutely frustrated and angry and, just at your wit's end, right? There's so many different ways that this can go. but it's oftentimes because we haven't paused and thought, where do I need a filling? And even if you're getting a spiritual filling consistently, there can still be other areas of your life where the cup is lower. So we're going to talk about that and how to address it. And the thing that's different about what I'm teaching you is that we're inserting God. There's other people out there who do this. I used to be part of a business group who would do this. It was a wonderful group, but it was kind of more like women getting together and talking, and we talk and share problems and there's no solution, right? That's kind of what happened when I first learned this. I would learn it and be like, oh gosh, my marriage is really low. That's good to know. And I would kind of go away with that thought. Like it helped me see what was low, but I didn't have an action step next, right? So the difference that we're doing here is I'm going to help us figure out and look into our lives in basically 5 key areas. These 5 key areas should touch pretty much everything of your life. If there's something that maybe you're like, where does this belong? You can throw it in the comments and hopefully I'll catch it and I can address where it belongs. But we're going to address 5 key areas, and we're not just going to leave it there addressing what's going on in our life. We're actually going to insert God, and we're going to say, God, with these things going on in my life, how can I improve? Or how can you give me rest? How can I, do better? Or maybe how can I stop doing things? How can I change what's going on here? So he's going to share with us how, and he's going to give us an action step on what to do. So we're marrying our talking to God with having, a refocus of what our life looks like right now. And in different seasons, it does look very different. So this is something you can do as often as you want. It could be daily, most likely weekly is probably as, soon as you need to do it, but sometimes even once a month is needed. Last thing that I'll share with you is that this is so impactful. It was on one of our women's Zooms. I don't remember which one, but I was talking to God, as I'll always talk to him, as you guys are talking to him too. And I was asking him something about how to help with my parenting. And he told me as clear as day, he said, Bethany, you need to have your kids know what's on your plate, because I have a desire to grow my kids up right. Some of them are older, some of them are not, so they're not doing this with us. But for the older ones, I have a 16-year-old, a 13-year-old, and the 8-year-old is really, he could almost be there maybe next year, but this year he's not doing it with us, just to let you know. So the 16-year-old and the 13-year-old, he was like, you need to have them know how you're feeling. And it's also a great way to help our kids know that we're not perfect. And so this is to all of you who have kids in the home, or maybe you even have adult kids that you get to have time with. This is maybe something fun to do. It really is fun, because as a parent, I want to know how my kids are doing. So when my kids are adults, of course, I'd want to do this with them. I've even had visions of traveling the world with our kids. This is a goal of mine. When our kids get married, I told my husband I would love to take them and their spouse on a trip somewhere. Obviously, they'll have their own honeymoon. Doesn't matter if it's local or far away. Doesn't matter. It's just time together, right? But I said I would love to take each of our kids and their new spouse on a trip. And let's say it was an African safari. I said, we're not just going to go enjoy an African safari. We're going to enjoy it, but then we're also going to have in-depth conversations, because what is the best way to start a marriage is to have prayer around that marriage, have unity around that marriage. And honestly, what I'm going to show you guys tonight, doing this with that marriage would be the best thing. And then we could have check-ins and be like, okay, hey, let's share how we're rating this now. I mean, that is transformational. So why I share that, to take you back to what God told me, he said, you have to tell your kids how you're feeling. You have to tell your kids what's going on, because I was feeling really tough on myself, really, with a lot of the things that were on my plate. And so it makes me feel like I'm failing, but I know failure is not of God. failure is of a mindset to deflate us to be a quitter, and that's not of God. And so I was like, God, I feel like a failure. What can you do to help me? Because I can't help my kids. They have to want to do it themselves. Like I can be there, but I can't make them make changes. And I'm abbreviating a lot of my feelings, what was going on. And so he said, weekly, you need to just sit down as a family and you need to share what's going on because I know what my kids could do better. And I can keep telling them that. But it felt like from my heart, if I keep telling them and telling them and telling them, it's like nagging. And I don't want them to hate their mom or think that I'm nagging at them, but they're not doing what they need to do. And we've been doing this for years. So he said, share with them how you feel, do this check in. And guess what's going to happen when they do the check in? They're rating themselves. And then they're going to ask me what they need to do better. So it was just this beautiful win-win where it's not me telling them what to do better. It's God telling them what to do better. And everybody already knows. We just need the time to sit down and do it. So that's what this recalibration is. Or if you're doing it with your family, you can call it a family check-in. That's an easier word. But now I'll get into the 5 key areas. And again, this is just going to be so helpful for you in any state that we're in. You have a new job. It's kind of like when you have a new job, actually, and you have like a check-in after working there a month to see how you're doing, right? So we just have to hold ourselves accountable to do this too. So the 5 key areas, if you're a parent, that would be parenting. And if you're not a parent, honestly, that could be your friendships. That could be your relationships, right? So parenting, marriage. If you're not married, there's 2 options of what this could be. It could be your significant other that you're courting, dating, right? Or it could be if you don't have a significant other at the time. It could be what are you doing to press in and pray for that person that God has on your heart? Because that's one of the most important things that I've learned is to pray for your spouse before you even meet them. I mean, everything that I prayed for, my husband actually is. How cool is that? And then as a joke, sometimes we're like, maybe I should have prayed for some other things too, right? No, but he's wonderful. He's wonderful. And I am not perfect either. But that is so important to pray for your significant other, for your spouse, even before you know them. And it's even more special when you find out that someone's been praying for you before they even knew you. You know, my husband was reading the Power of a Praying Wife book before he knew me. And to me, it's like, wow, that really touches me because I know that that was God also working, with him for his future wife, which was me. So parenting, marriage, spiritual, that's for all of us. How are we with our own spiritual life with God? Physical, this encompasses everything because of course our spiritual life, right? That really bleeds into everything. And our spiritual life is our relationship with God, pressing into God. Like it can be a vast array of things, right? But our physical can come down to sometimes even not feeling good. Like, why are we not feeling good? And God could reveal, because I've had a conversation with a guy before that he was open to the conversation. My husband and I were talking with him and, he revealed that honestly, he knows why he doesn't feel good. As we talked with him, with God, he was like, I will go to Taco Bell at 2 a.m. because I'm hungry and that's not good for me. And he knew it. So there's things like that we can address. Sometimes it's what we're eating. Sometimes we're angry at ourselves. I've been in women's groups where some women are like, oh, I'm just angry being stuck in this. But then they're like, I actually already know I need to work out. So that would fit into that, like not having time. Another physical thing can literally just be, exhaustion. And when you really look at why am I so exhausted physically, you find that you've been going for everybody else, but you don't have any rest for yourself. And so physical can count really kind of into mental health too. So I shared those first couple because, yes, it does count into our physical being, but it really can also bleed over into our mental health and that exhaustion. And God will help us find out why, right? The last one is your work. So, your work for some of you who maybe are stay at home moms, maybe your work is really something with your motherhood. Maybe you're a teacher. So, that could fit in there, right? Some of you actually have a career. That would be your career. Some are entrepreneurs. Maybe you're even at home, but you are wanting to like write a book or some of these things, right? So, work is anything that feels like, well, I'll give another example. Maybe your work is even like a nonprofit, right? Or part of a church. Okay. So even though that's out of the goodness of our heart, you could see it as spiritual. That's actually work because spiritual is for your own spirit. And our work is how are we doing in the environment where we're giving our services. Okay. So I guess think of that as your exchanging of services, your gifts and talents too. So, we're going to get into that. I just first wanted to give you all the preface of what's going on ahead of time. And so you have those key areas. And then I'm going to have us write those down and we're going to get into the steps. Okay. So I'll repeat them a couple times. You can write them down. If you're a parent, parenting and leave a gap around it because you're going to be writing stuff that you feel and then you're going to be writing what God tells you. Leave a gap, right? Parenting, marriage, physical. Sorry, I think I said spiritual before. Spiritual, physical, work. And a reminder for those of you who do not have children yet or are not married yet, that would be your relationships instead of parenting. So your friendships, things going along around you, and your significant other, whether they're here or not here yet. And then spiritual, physical, and work. What we're going to do is we're going to take some time for you to think through each of these sections. And you're going to rate yourself on a scale of 0 to 10. 0 would be like you have completely run dry. Or I'll use spiritual for an example because this has happened before. There's people who are like, I really am just spiritually dead. I don't crave to read the Bible. I'm not showing up. I'm not praying. I'm not doing anything. Like I'm doing nothing, right? So that would be like a 0. So 0 to 10. Sometimes in your life, you're actually going to find everything's like great. And that's wonderful. That's awesome. And you can still ask God, hey, what do you want me to know? What do you want me to do? That's fantastic. There's other times you're going to find things are high and some things are significantly low. This is great to see too, because it can tell us, are we maybe doing so much more over here that we're utilizing ourselves completely and now we're dry over here? So what do we need to do to have this come up, right? Another example I should share is that some of you are going to look at your scores and you're like, everything is really low. That's okay, because that's why you're here for a refilling. And honestly, when I started this with the kids, everything was pretty low, right? And it really just felt that way in my life. And it was great that I could share that with my kids. So they're like, oh, like they're like, my mom prays. My mom like prays with women. My mom does stuff. Why does my mom feel low spiritually? Right? We have to share with them that stuff. And I got to share with them like I do because I have a baby. I don't get to like be in the word like I want to. I just get to talk to God and pray, all the time, but I'm feeling dry and that's okay. So it's so good to share that with others and with kids. And then the Lord was able to give me insight on here's what I want you to do, Bethany. And he was also able to love me and say, you may feel that way, but he was like, I see you, Bethany. I see that you are showing up in your life and I need you to do that. And it was very warming and comforting to me because, of course, he always wants us as his kids to want more time with him, right? But sometimes it's like a parent going to work. The parent may want more time with the kid, but if they don't go to work, they don't have money to feed them, right? And so God understands that with some of the things that we're going through. So he's going to talk with us through all of this. So here's where we'll get to our point before we get started. So we're going to number them, okay? And then we're going to take a moment to write next to them why it feels that way. For some of you, you're probably going to have like 3 to 5 sentences on this feels this way because of all this going on in my life. That's fine. You can absolutely do that because it's you getting it out of your head. You got to empty yourself, right? Others of you, you're going to look at your number and you're like, yeah, I know why it's that number. And you're just going to have one word. You're like, this is why. This word sums it up. That's great too. There's no rules with this. It's just you emptying yourself out. And then when we finish that, I will get to come back and talk with you on our last step, which is our activation step for change. So that's what we're going to get started to do. I'm going to pray and then we'll get into it. So I'll probably honestly give us like 10 minutes just so you guys know. So if you don't hear from me for 10 minutes, it's because I want you to just really sit in that. So to recap, parenting, marriage, spiritual, physical work. You're going to write your numbers and then explain why it feels that way. So let's pray. Lord, thank you so much for making the space to do this. Honestly, even just, showing up and making space to sit down is a big deal. It really is. Because we honestly just have so much to do. And I'm even talking from, my own mouth where I have so much on my list that honestly it can just feel overwhelming. And I love how you can literally lift that spirit of overwhelm, take it off and throw it into the depths of the ocean. Because one, you say that is not of me. And two, you get to have us pause and you breathe your fresh wind, your breath of life into us. And when you do that, you give us wisdom, you give us clarity, refreshment, you give us joy, and you give us a spirit of abundance. And I see abundance over every single woman here, over those right here in this moment and those who are watching this in the recording, Lord. There's a spirit of abundance that you have more than enough for us. And so I thank you, God, that you're so sweet in teaching us through this, that there's little things you may even correct. You may say, I want you to do these things and not do these things. But God, I thank you that you give us space to just empty out our feelings to you. So I pray that you help every single woman take time in these minutes to just write down their heart, express their feelings, and we're going to get the clarity that we need to move forward and be productive in our life. Thank you, Lord. Amen. All right. So hopefully you guys have had time to put down your thoughts. And if you're finishing that up, by all means, keep working on it. If I went through all of mine, it would take at least 5 minutes to probably share. I'll give you 2 examples here, and then we'll go into the last step. Oftentimes when I do this with other people, what we do is we actually share. We go around the room and we share because there's power of bringing all things to light. And the other key thing, if you ever do this with friends or family, like your kids, when you share, you do not give insight. You don't go, yeah, I've seen that, let me tell you. Or how about you do this to fix it? Like there's no insight. That's the rule. It's just having someone else really authentically write down, this is where I feel I'm at. This is why. And then you wait for God to share with them the next step. And after that, maybe if you still feel something stirring on your heart, you feel like it would be helpful. The rule is that you ask, you say, would you like to have, another like helpful thought or word of advice, but you're asking for permission if they want it. Because maybe what God told them, they're like, no, no, no. What he told me, that's everything. And if they say yes, permission granted, and you have like some book that you're like, you got to read this book, then you can share with them. So hopefully that kind of gives you some guidelines on how to make this be successful and not turn into something where it's like a thorn in someone's side. Like they won't want to check in with you again. So for mine, actually, I was looking at my prior numbers. And like I said, they've been low. So the cool thing is that I actually saw my numbers get to go up. They're not like all significantly high, but they have moved up, which is really good in reflection because I get to look back at where I was and see how God has helped me with some steps, right? Because my number one thing, like if I look at all five of my things that I wrote down, if I can encompass it in one word, the one thing that I feel I'm missing is more time. That would be my word. I'm like, I'm just missing more time. But I also know that we have to be present with where we are, right? So let me see, which ones do I want to share? Parenting. I'll share parenting for one. So the last time I rated parenting, it was at a 5. This time it's at a 7, which is really great. Why is it at a 7? Overall, since we've been doing this with the kids, I really feel like it's helped them pick up their ownership, pick up their game, like have more accountability and help in the family. But there's 2 of my kids that I really feel like it's a little tiring for me. And it's interesting because those 2 are around me the most. So I'm like, why is that? So I don't have the answer yet. That's going to be the next step. Okay. So I got to write that down. Like, this is probably why I feel the most tired and why it's at a 7. And now, next step, God's going to get to share with me what to do about it. Okay. Another one that I'll share, work. So I put work as a 5. And I was like, I know God has told me not to do certain things. I've been obedient with that because we can be overachievers, right? So work is at a 5 for 2 reasons. One, I'm just like, I would like to be able to do more. Like, that's an honest feeling, right? And then the second reason is because I actually do have 3 key things that I want to get done, and I haven't been able to get them done yet. And that's also due to time. So, do I have permission from God to move forward and do all those 3 things? I don't know. I get to ask Him in this next step. And I'm also going to ask him, so this is something that you might incorporate into yours. I'm also going to ask him if he says, yes, Bethany, you can do those 3 things. I'm going to ask him, how can they fit in my schedule? Because if time is my struggle, I still actually have to have time to do it, right? So he's going to help me by telling me, he's done this every time, you guys, I swear. He always helps me make my schedule. Like, he helps me recalibrate it. And if any of you are needing help with that, I have made a schedule video before, and I can send that to you. But we just have to invite him to help us make our schedule. So that's what we're going to do. So now we're going to get back into it. I'll just give us a quick, peaceful little prayer. We're going to get back into it. I'm going to give us another 10 minutes, and you are literally going to talk with God, and you're going to write down what he's telling you to do. It's going to be our action step. So he's going to share with you maybe, why you really feel that way, but then here's what we're going to do. Here's our one step. Maybe he's going to give you lots of steps, but usually it's just one step. So God, we thank you again. Thank you for letting us empty this out, get it out on the table. We understand why we feel this way. And now, God, even though we understand it, we actually want to have clarity, we want to have peace, and we want to move forward. We want to have an action step. We want to move in the direction that you have us to move in. So, God, as we walk through each of these 5 sections in our life, would you tell us specifically what you want us to know and do? So, what is the action step? What do you want, for example, me to know about my parenting with my 2 children, which is why my number is at a 7. And now what do you want me to do? That's my action step. So God, I pray that you help every single woman here have clarity on that. And we just get to sit in some time in conversation with you, basking in your wisdom and your absolute peace. That's always right. Amen. All right. Hopefully that gave you enough time to get your thoughts from God. And I don't know if you're like me, but it actually comes quicker than me putting my words down. So, I mean, for some of you, maybe you're like, "Oh, I'm just still quicker at putting my words down, but I promise you the more that you practice this, like, you're just gonna get your words quickly. Because as I was writing down parenting and I was asking God, "Okay," I just instantly got it, and then with the next, I got it, I got it, I got it, I was like, "Woof, that's a breath of fresh air." So to finish this, like I said, normally we all share. This, I have to say, is my favorite part. So if you were to do this with your grown children, you were to do this with a group of friends, this is the most exciting part because when people get to hear from God, it's just like a fresh wind, comes in the room, and to hear what God is telling people to do is just so exciting and encouraging. So, to save time tonight, even though this is my favorite part, I'd love us all to share this. I'm going to reshare on the two that I mentioned and just how God even answered that because it's things that I wasn't thinking of. So before I had mentioned I had two kids that honestly I feel like were exhausting me the most, and they're the ones around me. So I'm like, why is that, God? Right. And this is what he shared with me to do when I said, okay, what do you want me to know? He said, share your feelings. So I need to share with those two kids, and I can already picture it. I'm going to share my feelings with them of here's how mom feels. But then he said that if I do tell them the truth. Like one of them, I told them the truth today, and I was like, okay, God, I feel like I hurt her feelings. I wasn't mean, but she's sensitive. And then lo and behold, though, she was like acting on it. She was already like stepping into it. So later I got to tell her, I said, I'm not telling you this to be hard on you. I'm telling you this to help you. So we got to talk about it. But I was still telling her something, right? And if we're always telling our kids something, it can just feel like we're exhausting them or nagging them, or they can feel like they're never living up to what we're asking, right? And we don't want them to feel that way because that builds off of like lies of the enemy. So he showed me, I will share with them how I'm feeling, which I'll do that tastefully. And then he said, ask them how they're feeling. So that way they're invited into this, like, okay, here's how I'm feeling, but I honestly want to know, how are you feeling? And so then they can share. Then he said, ask them how you can support them. And so by me opening up that kind of ground, it opens up this fun, it opens up an authenticity, ground. So we're all being authentic. We're all showing that we love and care, but then it's even going another step where God's like, ask how you can support them and watch. This is a principle in life. When you support someone, watch how they will want to come back and support you. So they already heard how I feel. They're going to want to support mom. They're going to want to step into what they're supposed to do. And then the other one was work. So those three areas, he showed me where I can fit them in. So one of them, he showed me that I can actually start fitting in now. I mean, he literally laid it out. He was like, but you first have to look at your schedule and you have to prepare these pieces. If you prepare it, you can literally fit it in every day and it'll be done within like 2 weeks, right? Because he showed me like I'll have X amount I can do every day. And then the second one, he said, you're going to find a gap in your schedule and you're going to be able to fit this in. And then he also shared with me that gap that you fit this task in is actually going to become like a permanent gap that you can fit in the other things you've been wanting to do. That's not even on my list. But he's told me that he's like, if you're patient, there will be time that you can get these things you want to do back on the schedule. The last one, he told me, because it was about praying how I could support some certain women better in our business, but he told me a specific date. He said, I want you to wait until this date so you can actually see who's actually wanting to work, right? Because we can't overexert ourselves. So I thought that was really cool how he answered them so differently that the third one, he even gave me a date that's a little further off. So I'm not overworking trying to do something when he's like, you need to see who's working with you before you exert so much energy. Hopefully that gives you guys a great idea. I mean, you just did it, so really you should have just experienced it, really great. So if you guys have any questions with this, feel free to text the number that we have, and I will be happy to answer them. And I'm just so grateful that we got to do this together because you guys gave me time. I got to do it. That was awesome. And hopefully, you had time that you feel successful in doing this, and you should do it as often as you need. So, Rose is going to say bye. We love you guys so much. God bless. Love you guys.